Hey Gunstreamer, I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about the relationship between swords and guns. Okay, the basically the AR-15 is the modern version of the sword. Okay, swords like this are relatively light compared to larger pole arms, and bows and other weapons that were used on a battlefield. It was fairly compact. You can carry it pretty easy. It did involve a good deal of skill in order to learn to use it. Okay, on average, it took anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to become, semi-competent with a sword. Okay, now I compete and I train regularly with swords. We use wooden simulators like this. Okay, and this has a weight and a balance similar to a sword. A sword, let's say like this, weighs about 3 pounds. It has a balance point, right around there. Okay, it has a pommel here which acts as a counterweight, and that's what allows me to rotate the sword, and do a lot of these rotational cuts and roll it from one side to the other. Okay, so these simulators that we use, they weigh about 3 pounds. Okay, and they have a basket here that it protects my hand, but it also allows me to make a lot of these rotational cuts. All right, so I train and I compete with swords, so I know what's involved in learning how to use them. Okay, now during medieval Europe, it was illegal for peasants in most areas to own swords. Okay, in many places it was punishable by death. The reason for that is because the nobility, which was the ruling class, they did not want the peasants to be able to rise up and basically fight for their freedom. Okay, so sword control was a means by which the nobility controlled the peasant class. The peasant class consisted of about 95% of the society. The nobility was only about 3%, and then you had the clergy, which was about 2%. Okay, so you had a small minority of armed people who was able to control 95% of the population, through sword control. Okay, so today we've got the equivalent of gun control, and it's the same idea. They want the people to be disarmed so that they can control them better. Okay, now during the time of the American Revolution, something unique happened. Basically, guns became cheap enough so that farmers could own them, and they were easy enough to learn that farmers could learn how to use them. Okay, in the age of swords, because it takes up to 2 years to become competent with a sword, farmers don't have the time to learn swordsmanship. But when guns come along, hey, now within a couple of days or a couple of weeks, all of a sudden, they're competent militiamen. Okay, things changed. Okay, and that's the reason why the War for Independence succeeded at the time and place that it did. Okay, the people, the farmers, they had access to guns, and the British learned a lesson from that, because after we won our independence from the British went to the other colonies like India, for example, and they banned guns over there because they didn't want those people over there fighting for their independence too. Okay, so this is something that's very important for us to understand, that the American Revolution could not have happened, okay, without the right to bear arms pre-existing. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why the founding fathers kind of went out of their way to make sure that they preserved that right for us, and they put it, in the Bill of Rights, because they recognized that the reason why the American Revolution happened was because all these civilians and all these farmers had access to firearms at the time and place that they did. Thank you very much for watching.